Methil, Fife, a close-knit Scottish community where families are raised and neighbours look out for one another. But on November the 3rd, 2021, a darkness settled over this coastal town that shook local residents to the core. Police and paramedics rushed to a flat on Harrier Crescent, where they made a grim discovery. Inside lay the cold, lifeless body of 24-year-old Calum Simpson. He was a devoted son, partner and the father of 4 young children, the youngest being just 11 days old. What at first appeared to be a tragic sudden death would soon unravel into one of the most depraved and calculated crimes in modern Scottish legal history. On the evening of November the 2nd, Calum Simpson was out socialising with a friend, Dylan Stewart. By chance, Stewart was acquainted with 2 local men, 27-year-old Dylan Brister and 20-year-old Cameron Allan. Brister and Allan had a dark plan that night. They had initially attempted to lure Stewart into their flat on Harrier Crescent, hinting at the presence of drugs, but Stewart got cold feet and backed out. Tragically, his narrow escape would become Calum Simpson's fatal misfortune. Shortly after Calum arrived at the flat, within minutes of walking through the door, his fate was sealed. Brister and Allan spiked Calum's drinks with street valium, a highly toxic illicit Class C drug known as Etizolam. Knowing full well he was already under the influence of alcohol and had no tolerance for the substance. The lethal dose of the drug quickly took effect, rendering Calum completely unconscious. While Calum lay defenceless, Brister and Allan acted out a sick, coordinated scheme. They subjected Calum to a prolonged, horrific campaign of SA and grape. But their depravity did not end there. In a display of chilling ignorance, they filmed the Howden abuse on a mobile phone. This is what I don't get with people anymore. Do they not realise that actually everything is recoverable? So even if you went on to delete things, you can still recover it. But, yeah. Medical examiners later noted that the physical trauma Calum had suffered was severe enough to cause immense pain to anyone who wasn't already unconscious. But instead of calling for emergency medical assistance as Calum struggled to breathe, the 2 men just left him lying there. Evidence that was presented in court showed they were jointly engaged in a deliberate plan to ensure that, in Allan's own words, that Calum didn't get up. When they woke the next morning and found Calum cold and stiff to the touch, they didn't call the police. They actually took active steps to conceal the sickening crimes that they committed. The investigation was complex and harrowing, as detectives analysed forensic evidence and decrypted the horrific mobile phone footage. And in July 2024, at High Court in Edinburgh, a jury unanimously found Dylan Brister and Cameron Allan guilty of SA, grape and unaliving. On November 25th, 2024, at High Court in Dundee, the pair stood before Lord Harrower to receive their sentences. Lord Harrower condemned their complete indifference to human life and sentenced both to life imprisonment. Dylan Brister was ordered to serve a minimum of 23 years, while Cameron Allan received a minimum of 19 years. Both were also placed on the sex offenders register indefinitely. Though justice in the eyes of the law was delivered, the trauma that remains for a family. And they were robbed of a loving son, a partner, a dad, and he'd just become a new daddy again. And although that could be justice served in the eyes of the law, justice will never, nothing will ever be enough for the family to think that justice has been served, especially not 19 years and 23 years. That's not even as long as he was alive for, and he still had his whole life ahead of him. As always, respect, thoughts and love go to Calum's family. And for anybody who is affected by this,